Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Wrestling Inc. AEW Dynamite after show. And have we got a show for you? We've got the Hung Bucks in trouble. We've got Keith Lee getting his hair black again. And we also have the return of the Painmaker. But before we get into all of that, allow me to introduce the crew. I'm Jack Farmer, being joined as always by the legendary referee, Jimmy Korderas, and the person who always brings a crew with her, NYC Demon Diva, Issa. How is the crew doing? Issa, you're on the far end. Let's start with you.
Hi, everything's good. I reroute my streams over here, so there are some of my viewers in the chat. Appreciate you guys.
Nice. Thanks for bringing them through. That always helps the numbers, and I like to take credit for it. So
I don't bring them for you. I bring them for Jimmy. Thank you.
Well, I hope you noticed I wore pink. I mean, it's a light.
I did. Jimmy broke the rules today, but Jimmy can do whatever he wants.
No, well, it's more of a. I was going to bring out the SmackDown ref shirt, but I figured it's this kind of ref shirt with lines going the other way.
It's pretty close. It's pretty close.
Yeah.
And he put you in the middle, so it works out perfectly.
Right. It's the hardcore match referee shirt, we'll say.
There you go.
Yeah, great to be here. And I just got to say, you guys, before we get into the news, I've been noticing the comments on the YouTube page. I check them out. Everyone was hemming and hawing and freaking out because we missed an AEW show. It's not that we're not covering AEW anymore. We just had some staffing stuff creep up on us during Forbidden Door. It's no big deal. We're back. We got a great show. Rest easy. We're covering AEW. It's going to be a good time. All right, folks. We got that covered? Great. Good. Great. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Thank you so much to everyone who's joined us here, whether you're in the chat or whether you're lurking, watching, and just watching the show or listening later. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, copy the link and throw it in there and into social media and let everyone know you're watching. Yeah, let's get into this news. We have not a whole lot of big news this week, or today, I should say. But one big piece of news that answered a question I think a lot of people were looking for, and that was Dave Bautista has revealed why he missed out on the WWE Hall of Fame 2023 induction. The multi-time WWE champion turned actor was initially announced for the Hall of Fame class of 2020, only for that to be delayed by the COVID-19 pandemic. Set to be part of the 2021 class instead, Bautista was later removed due to being unable to attend the ceremony and has since been left out of the 2022 and 2023 classes as well for similar reasons. While shopping for sneakers with cool kicks recently, Bautista discussed why this year's ceremony in Los Angeles just wasn't in the cards, saying he was in South Africa. Couldn't make it. It's too busy. Issa, how important of a person must you be to be like, I'm too busy to go to the Hall of Fame?
It's Dave Bautista, so I'm pretty sure him and The Rock are probably two of the people that I would expect to have that kind of schedule where this kind of situation happens. He'll get there. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I think he'll get there. Jimmy, you've been around a few Hall of Fames in your time. Is there anyone that you know of that had to say, I'm going to pass this time around and come back later?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, but I don't think it's for the same reasons, unless because you have someone like a John Cena who should be, is he in the Hall of Fame?
Not yet.
Exactly. But he's a busy guy too. You know what I mean? And look, let's put it this way. When you're a part of the Marvel universe, as well as doing other movies, he's a busy guy. And the fact that they keep asking him year after year means that they're not saying, well, taking it personal. They understand that in the entertainment industry, sometimes you are swamped. And in a good way, Dave is swamped.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I mean, if anything, it's good for WWE too, to be like, our talent is so busy, they can't even make these great honors. And that's really kind of what just happens in life when you become that successful. You've got to make decisions, and the Hall of Fame will always be there for Big Dave Bautista, and I'm sure he'll get in there one way or another. I do think with John Cena, they're just like, I feel like they don't want to put people in if they know they're going to still wrestle, and they know they're going to want John Cena to do some more stuff. So they're holding off on him, but he's basically in there, I think. I mean, it's just a matter of him saying it's time. Speaking of it's time to give a shout out to everyone in the chat, whether it's Justine A, Ian Adams, Huffman, Elite Training, Clay Ford. We got Jonathan in the house. We got Dylan, the Jiff King, Ethan Cruz, David is in the house, George Bartley, everyone else, Sherrod Jones, and everyone else, OZKOK90 _ I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm just going to spell it out. Jeffrey, everyone here, thanks so much. Ricky Zaldivar, always good to see you all. Make sure, again, like, comment, share, to subscribe. And if you're just lurking, thanks for being here too. Thanks for watching along. But if you do want to just pop in and say hello, that's cool too. It's a very friendly group. Even Monish and Lego Collector here joining in on the fun. You guys ready to chat about AEW Dynamite?
Sure.
All right, you guys are like, Jack, just get to the point already. Quit rambling and
just do it.
And
just do it. We're live, pal.
Preambling. So
I'm sure you heard that a million times.
So we're gonna get to let's start with the beginning of the show. Mox versus Ishi. The fallout from Forbidden Door a little bit playing in here. It's a brawl until Eddie Kingston comes out and grabs a chair to chase off the BCC. Then it's a kerfuffle until eventually Mox gets the win. Post-match, Mox bumps into Kingston and they trade words before Eddie follows Mox through the curtain. Jimmy, as far as an opening contest goes, I feel like this actually kind of checked every single box you're looking for. There was a little bit of post-Forbidden Door fallout in here between these guys. Hard-hitting match, big star in Jon Moxley when you have the lead-in from the show before. International star for people who like the more hardcore wrestling fan-based stuff. And you get a little bit of a reheating of a story with Kingston and Mox. I feel like it checked every box. What say you?
Well, it did check a lot of boxes, and that might be a little bit of a problem because, yes, you're trying to cater to certain audiences, but this match catered to a specific audience, and that's the hardcore AEW audience because they bought into this thing just like they bought into, don't get me wrong, Forbidden Door was a good pay-per-view, man. We talked about it on Monday. You know, it was, but tonight they started off hot. You know, I just question, again, only because we'll talk about this later on in the show, was the blood necessary from Jon in this particular situation?
Always.
I don't think it was necessary, but I don't think he could help himself.
Right.
You know
this one, I don't know if it was just, he was pretty gashed up. I don't know if this was an intentional thing. It didn't look.
I think it was. It didn't look like it, especially when you first saw when he first started bleeding. This one might have been an accident because it wasn't in his typical. Besides, when it's his typical one, the cameraman makes sure that he gets it so we can see him bleeding.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear. I wish I could hear Jon Moxley be like, "Oh man, I'm bleeding too early. Now I don't get to do."
2 minutes and 16 seconds. I time it. 2 minutes and 16 seconds was the time tonight.
Well, you know, it was a hard-hitting match, and they started off, you know, forehead to forehead, and what do you expect?
It was but I love this one. I love, like I said, the hard-hitting aspect. I liked the Ishii. I was thinking to myself, he's lucky he's a hard-hitting guy, because if he wanted to be a high-flying dude, I'd say you're not. You look like someone who's supposed to beat people up, not high-fly. So you got to learn to change. But Issa, I feel like this is the kind of match that's right up your alley. Just two guys beating the crap out of each other.
Oh, I loved it. I loved a lot of things on tonight's episode, but we all know how I feel. I love violence and hardcore and all that stuff. So I thought this was a great opener. You know, you're going in after the pay-per-view. You want to see some action. You want to see some follow-up to that. So I have fun. I enjoyed it. It was hard-hitting. And again, I'm very invested into this Moxley and Eddie Kingston thing, and they did a lot of things tonight that go way back in the storytelling that I felt invested into. I want to see where we're going with this, and we'll talk about it what happened later on. But yeah, overall, it was a banger of an opener. Great crowd, Canada. I mean, it helps them that they're in a different setting. They did an excellent job at getting those shots to show you that this place is packed, which we haven't seen a lot of those shots recently. Oh, I hear a baby.
Stalking you need to put your little emoji up.
But yeah, I thought this was an excellent opener, especially following up Forbidden Door.
Yeah, I want to double back on that, Issa. Right after this, after commercial break, we see Renee Paquette and she's reprimanding Jon Moxley for how he's acting. And she's the only person I've seen really shut up Eddie Kingston by yelling at him too. She got involved. This was the first time. Now they've alluded to her and Jon Moxley being married, and it's no secret. But I think this was the first time they were on camera together and acted like she wasn't an interviewer or a broadcast person speaking with a wrestler. Issa, do you like that they're doing that, or do you think that they should keep these things kind of separate?
Well, I beg to differ. We did see a little bit of that in the storyline with Moxley and Hangman Page, especially when Hangman got concussed and all that back and forth, and she had to interview Hangman after he concussed Mox. There was a little bit of that tension that she was kind of pissed off at him. But I love seeing her, reprimand him. It's just like, listen, I'm nitpicking at this point, but it just felt weird because we saw what Brie Garcia posted about Brian, and she was just so like, I'm gonna kill him for going 10 extra minutes on such a bad injury, and now we see, and maybe it gives you like that perspective, like, hey, maybe she saw that and now she's starting to worry about her husband too, so I do like it, as long as I don't need to see Renee involved in a storyline, but a quick segment backstage like that, I do not mind at all.
Yep. And Jimmy, it looks like you agree.
No, I agree with that. That's the only thing I was afraid of after seeing this segment. Yes, I like the fact that they acknowledge that they are a couple, they are married, they have a child together and the whole bit. And her being, hey, you got to calm down, man. You can't keep bleeding like this. We have a family. I get it's a tough business, so on and so forth. But I don't want to see it lead to a mixed tag match down the road with Renee. Renee is perfect in the role she's in. Mm-hmm. She does that so well. She doesn't need to be in the ring. The only thing, if she's going to be part of the story, is getting upset with John for John taking it a step too far.
One of the things that I really liked about this setup was sometimes we talk about maybe AEW gets a little too far into the weeds or things that maybe not enough people have seen before. So I like that Moxie kind of called it out with Eddie Kingston. Like, why do you hate Claudio for some Chikara stuff 10 years ago nobody saw? And I kind of like that he fronted it, but then I also like Eddie Kingston to be like, that's me, dude. I'm mad at people. I hold grudges. What do you expect?
Yeah.
It was a fun, like, almost acknowledging that, yeah, this is kind of a deep cut, but at the same time, that's who I am, buddy. I hate people forever. That's just the way it goes. Very simple thing that actually quickly explained why he hates him without going too far in depth. But you go, oh, okay, there's just some weird thing from the indies. They don't like each other. Eric Douglas, speaking of snitches, Eric Douglas saying, Issa, why are you working with a snitch?
He's talking about you, Jack.
It's me? I'm not a snitch. I would never rat anyone out to their face. We definitely got a super chat here real quick from Sradeep Sangupta. Let me know if I said that right. I apologize if I got it wrong. AEW style heel turn, attack good guy, tell banging hot chick and run away from good guy. Also, if everyone banging hot chick, then who is the hottest chick? Also, Jimmy in the middle with blue ref shirt. Perfect place. We'll get into, I think, the spot you're referring to in a little bit here. That was one of my favorite segments of the night. Spoiler alert. So we move on, and we get Renee Paquette again working overtime backstage, and she's chatting with Adam Cole, baby. And then MJF shows up and is like, hey, let's just be a two-man power trip. That worked out really well for someone else. And Cole skeptically agrees. They pitch some new merch. Later on, Roderick Strong is telling Adam Cole, like, dude, you can't trust MJF. And he's like, yeah, I know. And he's like, well, what if he watches the show later? Like, you're not going to watch the show. Come on. Issa, I thought this was another great example of them sort of fronting something like, yeah, because I always wonder, like, do guys ever watch the show back? They talk all this stuff that gives away so much stuff, but they actually just address like, oh yeah, he's not going to watch it. How did you feel about this combo of segments, Issa? I wasn't into it. I wasn't into it. I just wasn't. What do you want me to say? There was a lot. I enjoyed a lot of tonight's show, so I want you to understand that it was great.
Positive. Yeah, but it wasn't. Anyway, I'll be a lot more positive tonight because there was a lot that I enjoyed, but this was just there for me.
Jimmy, you got to be the tiebreaker here because I'm kind of liking the idea of Adam Cole and MJF just being a terrible person tag team. Because Adam Cole can be a terrible person when he wants to be, even if he stays a good guy. I feel like I like them as this odd couple team.
No, I get what you're saying, and this could be entertaining in a certain way, but I don't want it to turn into the Stone Cold Kurt Angle interaction where MJF becomes this funny guy. I like MJF as a mean son of a SOB. You know what I mean? I'd rather have him being the angry guy instead of trying to play fun guy.
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like Kurt Angle was. That's the only thing I'm worried about. I know he can do it. He can pull it off, but at this point, I don't want to see it right now.
I think that pairing him with Sammy Guevara just so recent ago, having kind of like a similar approach, it doesn't help this one.
You're saying you wouldn't buy into MJF wearing a tiny cowboy hat because I would be totally into that.
With the ukulele singing Jimmy Crack Corn and I Don't Care?
Yeah. Come on, that would print money. Also,
not yet. Though.
Better Than You, Baby is actually a really good shirt. I think
it is a good shirt. It's catchy. Yeah, it's catchy.
That's a good one. So I'm on board with it. In the chat, let me know. Like you guys, I'm going to say you're the tiebreaker because these two didn't agree with me. So I'm changing the rules and I'm going to say the chat is the tiebreaker. Do you guys like this? Would you guys like to see the team of Adam Cole and MJF work it out and keep going? I think that'd be fun. But let's continue on to a team that I don't think is going to be together for very long. And that's Orange Cassidy, Keith Lee, and Vikingo against Daniel Garcia, Magic Daddy, and Cool Hand Ange. The story of the match here is that the odd pairing of Keith Lee, Vikingo, and Cassidy work together. JAS gets some fun stuff in, like Daniel Garcia dancing on Keith Lee. But in the end, it was Keith Lee's powering his way through to get the win for the team. Jimmy, I hate saying this, but I feel like the biggest story of this was Keith Lee with shaved and has black hair again and didn't come out in his entrance gear.
No, I hear you. And I kind of felt the same way. I mean, yes, it was a bit of a showcase for Keith Lee and showing off his strength and dominating the way he did in certain parts of the match. But it was, again, a typical AEW trios match. If you get my drift, it's that same kind of formula that they do in every trios match that they have, almost, it feels like. And I did like the fact that Keith Lee was showcased in this the way he was, because he is a great talent. And deserves a little bit of a boost, so to speak. But at the same time, I don't think anybody else really benefited in this one. Orange Cassidy kind of was there. And, that's about it. I think the only real guy that came out of this getting any kind of a bump was Keith Lee out of 6 guys.
Right.
You agree, Issa?
A little bit, yeah. I love seeing Keith Lee, come out looking like Keith Lee, and I love seeing him showcase. We have 3 shows now, so there's no reason why some of these talents that we all have felt that are not being utilized properly cannot get a shot. I didn't like Keith Lee. They grew on me a little bit later on, but I didn't like Keith Lee being put in a tag team with Swerve on the beginning. I just feel like he's a single star and you're wasting so many dream matches and opportunities. So I'm not going to tell you that I'm super hyped to see him in a trios match either. I want to see him shine solo. And now there's no reason why you can't put these guys on TV and showcase them. But hey, let's put him back there. Let's show what he can do and slowly build a good story for him.
My hope watching this, and this is me projecting pretty far, is that it leads to Keith Lee versus Orange Cassidy for that international title. At least again, that's kind of my projection. And I kind of feel like Vikingo is just exciting. So throw him in a match where he can do his jumps and everything. And I'm a big believer in Daniel Garcia. I think he's going to do great things. I think as far as in the ring, he wrestles well. And I think when he does certain things and like his dancing is supposed to be kind of cringy. And I think he knows that because he's a bad guy. I think he knows what he's doing. And I think he's great. I think once he gets going, because he's young too. He's like 13 years old. I can't remember how old he is, but he's like a child still in the way of the world. But I think once he really like gets going, he's going to be really good. I think Daniel Garcia that's Jack's pick. I think you got to watch out for Daniel Garcia. He's going to be a big time. He's going to do big things.
There is potential there, but again, he needs to absorb and be a sponge and not be afraid to ask questions to some of the veterans out there and kind of balance, so to speak. And yes, I know people say, oh, this guy's too old school. That guy's too old school. Don't go to him. But what they talk about makes sense. You know what I mean? So, you can mix old school and new school together.
I will say one of the things, I've always been a fan of his. I've been a fan of his for a while. I was lucky enough to see him before he signed with AEW. But the one of the things that really stuck out to me recently was at the Double or Nothing post-media scrum, Bryan Danielson called him out specifically as somebody who is listening and doing those things and is really working on the right things. So that was something that also added me going, oh, okay.
Who did Bryan Danielson ever meet?
What has he done?
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't even get TV time tonight.
Yeah.
You know?
He did get a video package.
He did.
Yeah, that's true.
He did. And just beat one of the most. He had just like an incredible match with a broken arm. And anyways, that's crazy. If I broke my arm, are you kidding me? I would be so done. Are you kidding? I wouldn't do this show today if I broke my arm this weekend. I'd be like, guys, I got to recover.
I once fractured 2 ribs and I got right back up and kept drinking and partying. Went to the hospital the next day.
I broke my toe and I was like, this is
I fractured my sternum, believe it or not, in a match, taking a ref bump, and finished the match, and got on a plane the next night and went home.
Yep, that's it.
And didn't realize it until I, got home, getting off the plane, going, I really having a problem.
You're a real one, Jimmy. You are a real one. When I felt it because I landed on some metal, and I literally said out loud, I think I just broke a rib or 2, but if I can get up, I'm good. I got up, keep going.
Isa, on Monday, did you know Jimmy Crack Corn here in the middle said that he had Haku Ming, the most dangerous man in the history of the universe, break his finger, and Jimmy was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and keep on working. Big deal.
That's the way it should be. That's
why this little finger is like that.
I can do that with mine, but it's not because of a break. It's because my fingers are weird.
No, this was stomped on, and I did the old school. I took some duct tape and I just taped it to my ring finger.
I love that, Jimmy. You were already my favorite, but now you just elevated.
These baby soft hands can't do any of those things. Let's get into the Hung Bucks versus the Dark Order.
I can't do this anymore. Jimmy, get that t-shirt. I'm gonna beat him up.
Let's talk about the Hung Bucks versus the Dark Order here. The Dark Order is upset that Adam Page kind of left him high and dry, and frankly, they're kind of right. Kind of agree with the Dark Order on this one. They end up having a 6-man tag, and the story of the match is when Page gets in and Johnny Hungy starts laying in the thick leather. Then Page is like, what the heck? And eventually the whole Dark Order is aggressive with Adam Page. So Adam Page gets aggressive with them. And then eventually, after not being sure about it, Adam Page hits that buckshot lariat and gets the win for his team. Obviously, there was a big post-match hoopla that happened. But before we get into that, Jimmy, I think as far as the match structure goes, this one, there were moments I thought the Dark Order were going to actually get one over on the Elite.
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm looking at who is in the match, and I'm thinking to myself, not happening. Do you know what I mean? That's just the way I felt watching this match. It was just a matter of time and how they did it. But the main thing I didn't like about this match was the placement of the match. We just had a trios match / 6-man tag match. You don't put your next match on another one. Space it out a little bit. Put something else in there. One of the other matches that we had later on, whatever it is, a promo segment, anything.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Yeah, just back to back, it just kind of loses its oomph.
Yep, I do agree with that. It was when you start seeing that many people in the ring that often, it does start to kind of muddy it up a little bit, water it down. That's the word I'm looking for, phrase I'm looking for. And I agree with what you're saying about who's in it, but that's why I thought it was kind of surprising is there was just moments where I was like, this may be a story beat that they get the win here for whatever reason. But of course, it was not meant to be. Issa, the Dark Order were right. Hangman did leave him high and dry, right?
He did. He did. He found himself back with his cool friends and forgot about his geeky friends. But I do think that there was a difference in the match because I agree with Jimmy's criticism of them putting them back to back. But I also think that it shows you when there's a little bit of a story behind something, it makes you care more. Both of these matches were bangers. Both of these matches had excellent performers. I was 1000% invested here because the Dark Order have a past history with the Elite, specifically Hangman Page. So it makes you really care. And that goes to show you how if AEW started putting a little more effort into storylines, we will care about these matches, right? So, but I did think they put on a banger. And there was that one spot. I never thought that the Dark Order was going to go over Jack, sorry. But I did think that Jack Silver got a really, really good close finish at one point that I was like, no way.
and the other thing, too, is whether it was intentional or not, getting the blood from Hangman. Again, when you see something too often, it means less.
I will say that as someone, we talk about, or I keep saying the Dark Order's right. Hangman kind of abandoned them here and left them high and dry. And it's not necessarily the nicest thing in the world to do, but I'd do the same thing. If there's a cooler group to hang out with, I'm going to leave them high and dry. Speaking of snitches and Tony D on Tuesday. Yeah, I think something the Bloodline has really shown us, and I'm not saying this is the same as the Bloodline, but as far as the concept goes, we love characters, but we also love to see how the relationships between different people and the stories play out. Those are the things that I think we can all connect with, as opposed to just these are two great wrestlers and they're going to wrestle. But if you're like with the Dark Order, if you're looking at the pecking order of AEW, the Dark Order is way below the Elite. But because there is that, they were friends, but now they're not because of this thing that's happening. It as to Issa's point, you do buy in and you're like, okay, I'm interested in this. What's happening? How's this going to play out? And all that good stuff. That said, Issa, the Dario Cueto of the podcast, who loves her violence in all of her matches, afterwards, the BCC, not the BBC, that's a different thing altogether. The BC. Could you imagine the BBC comes out and attacks them? A bunch of reporters come out and is that Doctor Who attacking the Young Bucks?
Is that where your brain goes when you say BBC? Because my brain goes elsewhere with BBC, but that's just me.
Well, that is definitely a different thing. I was thinking this.
Yes, reporters. Reporters, Jack. Reporters.
This took a turn for a different turn.
Yeah.
So the Blackpool Combat Club, I'll say it out the whole way from now on. They attack the. That actually sounds even funnier. Attacks the Hung Bucks. That's it. But post match, and it's going to be Blood and Guts, July 19th in Boston. Jimmy, can you're a referee, get us back on the trail on the rails here.
How am I going to get you back on the right trails?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. We got a Blood and Guts match coming up in Boston. But it seems weird. A Blood and Guts match almost feels like something that should be saved for a pay-per-view. I get it. You want to put on an exciting show on TV. You want to draw your audience in and that sort of thing. But the TV shows usually used to be at one point there to help not only continue stories, but also to get people to tune into pay-per-views where the real money. I get it now. The money now is in TV. TV deals are where the money's at. But you got to take your time and save for these matches. It almost feels like too soon for Blood and Guts.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I would say I agree with you that it should be like a pay-per-view thing too soon, but I also feel like, and Issa, I want your take on this. It feels like it's a little too long for this rivalry at this point. I feel like they've been doing this for a year now.
Yes, and that's the thing. That's where we went with what was the prior Blood and Guts? I think it was Jericho Association Society. I can't remember, but that felt like it went on forever. I don't know, Jimmy, if it's a TV thing, but also it's the TD Garden in Boston. That's a big arena to sell, and they, Lego just brought it up as well. They got to sell some tickets because their ticket sales have not been very appealing. We did hear a little bit of a bump on their ticket sales due to Collision, but TD Garden is a big arena for them to sell. So I did kind of assume, did it not necessarily Blood and Guts, but I did assume that they were going to put a big main event for that specific location, being in a major city and a major arena, because they gone to Boston, but I don't think they ever taken out the TD Garden before. It was smaller places.
Makes sense.
When did they do the last Blood and Guts match? Because it feels like that wasn't that long ago. It wasn't. It doesn't feel like it was a year ago. I mean, it feels like it was like
that's the one that
6
Santana got
ago.
injured. Yeah, I can't remember when that was, but it wasn't too long ago.
Right.
And I think, your point, Issa, that means the Blackpool Combat Club. I'm going to say it out the whole way now. I'm not gonna just use the letters anymore. Is like they end all their rivalries in Blood and Guts. It seems like that's just their thing now. They just always do Blood and Guts.
But there's always Blood and Guts in their matches. So what's the difference?
Yeah.
Well, there's a cage with weapons.
Ooh.
And people come out at in timed intervals.
Oh,
okay. So we didn't
and the
get
match
any
goes
of that.
beyond.
And the anarchy in the arena matches, there was no weapons, no exploding like there's always something crazy happening in one of their matches. So I get it. I think the cage will be interesting, but I don't know.
Well, look, the anarchy in the arena was the whole arena. This
as long as Wheeler Yuta is part of the Blackpool Combat Cup, I can't.
Well, he is. So there you go. Speaking of, I don't know. This is a transition, folks. Jack Perry says, we're done with Tarzan Boy, and he's still dipping the biscuit with the jelly to his peanut butter, if you know what I'm saying. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Then he says that he wants to beat up Hook, and Hook shows up, and Jack Perry runs away.
Mm-hmm.
What, Issa?
I can't.
What?
Nothing. Keep going.
Issa, walk me through this segment and this new and improved.
You described that the way that baby face, Jungle Face would have described that. He said he's banging the hottest chick in the company. Just give that moment some justice. He finally got to brag about it. We all know he's been dating her forever, but we never actually gotten him to come out there and say, what's up? You know?
That's so did you like, so Issa, I'm guessing you like, I feel like this was a much needed move for Jack Perry. And I want you to talk to me about that beautiful tope suicida into the
Oh
SUV.
my God, that was the best thing I ever seen. I gotta tell you something. I saw it happen on Sunday, and my first thing was, I don't know if I can buy him as a heel. And I automatically said, I'm going to give it a chance because I've been shut up before about people that I said, oh, you're not going to cut it as a heel. And they end up kicking ass, right? And we had Jungle Boy. Sorry, my dog is up to no good. I can just tell. And we had Jungle Boy hang out with Christian for quite some time. So if you're going to learn and pick up some tips on how to be a good heel, Christian is the guy to go. I love the heat that he got. He lost me for 1 second when he did the you people thing. He was going well, and they say, I didn't turn on you, you turn on me. And I'm like, do not do the you people thing. But he saved it. And the slide into the car was way too smooth. But I gotta tell you something, Hook got up to him so fast. I was like, Usain Bolt, better watch out. Hook was running. This was fun. I love this. I actually love this.
Jimmy, tell me your thoughts on this change in Jack Perry, because this is clearly the biggest change we've ever seen in his character.
Of course.
And tell me, would you be okay if he aligned himself yet again with someone like Christian?
I think he needs to align himself with someone who is an established heel like a Christian. He exceeded my expectations when he came out and cut his promo. I thought it worked for him. Because I thought the challenge here in turning him heel is the appeal of Jungle Boy Jack Perry is he's, and I hate to use size as a factor here, but as being quote unquote a little bit not as big as the other guys, is, made him look like that fight from underneath underdog babyface a little bit, and he had that, that likable personality. Let's put it that way. And tonight he came off like an unlikable prick. Let's put it that way, and ungrateful but he also looked like the good chicken shit heel. When he ran away through the crowd and the whole bit and diving into the back of the vehicle and the whole bit. So like he said, I'm going to give it time, but I think it was a pretty good start on his heel thing. But to answer your question, yes, I think he needs to align himself with someone like a Christian.
I thought his promo, I thought the new look was good. I thought the promo was good. As silly as it sounds, I think the dive into the SUV is what sealed the deal for me. It was just so. We talk about being a coward or a chicken. The dive into that SUV to get out of there was the most. I've got to get out of here as fast as I can move I've ever seen from a pro wrestler, and that to me absolutely sealed the deal. I don't know how many takes they did, or if he just nailed that the first time. But it was like a cartoon. It was so smooth. He perfectly nailed it. What a great move for our boy Jack Perry. I wonder, is he no longer Jungle Boy? Is that official? I assume so, because he's not using that song anymore.
I guess we'll see.
Jack did a swimmer's dive into the SUV. But yeah, it's but I didn't get this, and maybe one of you guys can help clarify this for me. Because he said, I don't like the title isn't recognized and it's dumb, but it also sounded like he wanted to take the title. Is he trying to get the FTW title, or is he what's that all about? Maybe I missed it.
I would assume that, but I think he's just doing it more to just mess with Hook and Taz. You saw him kind of address Taz and kind of mess with him. So I think him going after the titles, he's just saying this title is worth it. I'm still gonna take it just to mess with you guys. Worthless.
And not only that, if I take this title, I will make it mean something, as opposed to you who hangs on to this thing and this meaningless title, so to speak.
Well, he would have a point if he defended it, because Hook doesn't ever defend it. It doesn't seem like. So good stuff from him. We got Ruby Soho in a match that was supposed to be against Britt Baker, but Britt Baker couldn't make it because she was under the weather. And she gets a win and she talks some trash. I thought this was hey, you have extra time. Let's give her some extra time. Let's get someone out there to have a match with. Jimmy, I'm a big fan of Ruby Soho. I understand that she's kind of in a situation where her teammate is the champ, so she's sort of stuck in kind of a certain spot. But I feel like they've got a talent with Ruby Soho. How do you feel about her as an option to be on TV more?
No, I'm fine with it. They've got a lot of talented women down there, and having her in this, for lack of a better term, because I know Alexia Nicole, being from Canada, it was kind of like an enhancement match for her, and getting her to show her nasty side a little bit. Ruby was not nice, let's put it that way. So you can build her up, and you can also start creating some friction and planting some seeds, because one thing they do like to do in AEW is they like to do the turns, like we saw with Jungle Boy turning on Hook. Hey.
Issa, do you think would you be okay with them breaking up the Outcasts already?
I'm not sure. Maybe. I mean, they haven't really hit with me, so I feel very indifferent about it, and I'm not sure that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I did think that Ruby had a great showing tonight. I enjoyed her promo. I thought she looked badass, and we'll see. I mean, the only way to follow it up is to have her beat Britt Baker, because Britt Baker has gone over her every single time they faced each other. So you can come out there and talk all that crap unless you can back it up. So the important part is the following up to it.
I mean, unless she's able to dive into the SUV. If you can dive into the SUV, you can talk crap about anybody.
Absolutely.
I actually love the Outcasts. I didn't like them at first. They definitely grew on me. I like this group. I don't feel like they have rivals, though. I mean, I know they've been having issues with like Britt Baker, but I don't have that same feeling like when just use an old reference so no one like thinks I'm trying to pick sides. It's kind of like the NWO always had like the Wolfpack or Sting or Luger, where like these guys feel like they're rivals. I don't really feel the heated rivalry with Baker and the Outcast, if that makes sense. I feel like they need that rivalry to really go with against them, or even Bloodline and Sami Zayn and KO. It doesn't feel like they have that group yet, or those people yet that can really take them on. Maybe Willow Nightingale could be that person. But Willow's lost a lot in TV already to them.
But could part of that be because we do tend to see a lot of factions?
Yeah,
there?
Right.
And you know what I mean. And once again, when you have a lot of something, then it kind of loses its specialness, so to speak.
No, absolutely. We got a few people saying, Clay says, Jack, they aren't selling the hate very much, but Ruby promos are always good. So yeah, good. I mean, good stuff from them. Again, I thought this was a pretty good use of what was supposed to be something else, but then last minute changed. Johnny TV. I don't care what anybody says. I am all in on Johnny TV right now. I think that this is going to be a perfect use of him. I think that him and QT Marshall are actually going to be a fantastic pairing. I think that this is going to work great. This is my first time seeing them together, but it was just a pre-taped quick thing. But Jimmy, I think this is a good pairing. I know we just talked about how there's maybe too many groups sometimes. Right. I think QT and Johnny TV are going to have that. I don't know if the right word, a corniness about them that is going to just be fantastic, though.
If you are going to add anybody at all to this group, there's one name out there I think that they could, and that is RJ City. Because if you're going to make this into a fun segment and get people both laughing and annoyed at the same time, RJ is a great addition to this. And Johnny TV, I don't want it to be a shot at what the other guys are doing, with his former partner, Ms. TV, so to speak. Right. I like John Morrison. I think he's a great talent. He's very good in the ring. He can talk. Let him go and let him do his thing. Again, this is one of those things I'm going to give it time and see how it progresses, and hopefully they don't let it get too far out of control.
I think I get what you're saying about the Miz TV, though. I think he's Johnny TV because QTV. I don't think it's a Miz TV. I think that's what the because at first I was like, why isn't he Johnny Dynamite? Or whatever? Because that's what I think he was when he was there for one day, like a while back. But I think it's a QTV thing more so than a Miz TV.
No, he was Johnny Elite.
Oh, was it Johnny Elite?
Yeah.
That's true. Well, that could get confusing too with the Elite. So maybe it's probably best to not call himself the Elite. Right. And Johnny Dynamite, I guess, wouldn't make sense if he's ever on Collision. So yeah, maybe Johnny TV, I guess. At this point, he's had so many of these names. Just pick one that you can use everywhere.
Right.
I loved it. I love the different versions of it. I think it makes it fun.
I do too. I think it's especially, I like it, especially when he gets kind of creative, like Johnny Mundo instead of Johnny Lucha or something. You know what I mean? From Lucha Underground. But Issa, I feel like this is one of the few times we're going to agree on this one. Johnny TV, are you buying in?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. I think he's a great talent. I've been really wanting to see him somewhere on a consistent basis since, his unfortunate release from WWE. So I'm very happy and looking forward to see what he does here. And I mean, Thea Valkyrie is part of the company. It makes perfect sense. So, we'll see where it goes, but I'm very, very happy and excited. I think getting John Morrison is never going to be a bad thing for any company.
I do feel like it's a little unfair having someone his age with abs like that. I feel like there's probably I feel like there's got to be some kind of law or thing against it. It's just not right. No. But
no law against that yet. But there should be a law against Billy Gunn.
Yeah, I think at a certain age, you're not allowed to be shredded anymore. It's not fair. Because as long as they're out there, then I can't use it as an excuse. But Ian Adams saying he didn't like it. Saying, why can't Johnny be the shaman of sexy? Why does he have to be Johnny Drip Drip? I don't know if there's a huge difference between them all, to be totally honest.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a lot of people. Yeah, Johnny Steven says Johnny TV Morrison has to have had the best WWE run of any wrestler in the past decade. The dude literally has fun in every promotion outside of WWE, and it shows. Yeah, a lot of people just talking about his different names. Yeah, good stuff there.
Yeah.
From Johnny. We get to the end of the show.
I'm very happy to add that I did give him his Puerto Rico nickname, and it was Johnny Pueblo. When he came and wrestled here for WWC last year, and I'm the one who, and he was trying to find a name, and I said Johnny Pueblo, and that's what we interviewed him as.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's it reminds me of the old Rey Mysterio line. That's my Pueblo. In the song. Okay. I don't know. That's like the only line. And Booyaka. I think that's about all it says in that song. But but that's awesome. That's cool. I didn't know that. You need to have that like on your Instagram and Twitter header.
Those are the coolest things you can do. Is it come up with somebody's name or come up with a name for a finishing move, one or the other.
Johnny Bloodsport.
Okay, I'll take it.
Johnny
Bloodsport was a lot of fun. I saw his first match over WrestleMania weekend last year when he showed up. Oh man, that was fun. He was fun. He was a lot better than what I expected him to be.
Of course, Huffman Elite Training is going to tell me that I need to make sure I'm training more. I mean, my name's Farmer. I got that farmer strength. I don't need to worry about that. Painmaker and Sammy Guevara versus Sting and Darby in a tornado match. Sting says he wants more time with the Painmaker, and he's gonna get it. There was a weird thing where like Sammy Guevara came out during a commercial break earlier, and then
it got very confusing.
Yeah, I was definitely confused by this. But at the end of the day, Sting gets Jericho in the Scorpion Deathlock and says, "I'm not putting over younger talent, Jericho. You're tapping out to me."
Oh man.
So, Jimmy, what were your thoughts watching two of the all-time greats have their first matchup?
Again, here we go, and maybe what I said earlier about that other match being on pay-per-view, you could make an argument for that being on TV, but for the first time, these two lock up in the ring together, two icons, two legends like this. That is something that could have been saved for someplace like when they go overseas to Wembley.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's maybe, yes, that's what their plan is for them to have a one-on-one there. You never know. But at the same time, limit their physical interaction as much as possible so people can anticipate the match between them. I think it was too soon for them to regardless of the fact whether it was a tag match, and to put that stipulation on it, a tornado tag team match, which why? So,
they made that very last minute, right? Because I thought it was supposed to be just a regular tag match.
I think so.
I do think they actually said it when they set up the match. I could be mistaken, but
a Texas tornado match in AEW. Insert your joke here. Anyway.
I mean, aren't they all?
Yeah.
But I'll say this. I agree. I guess with in this case, I like the tornado tag because I think what they were thinking to themselves is, can Sting and Jericho have an interesting matchup on their own at Sting's age? And so like let's make this tornado so that Sammy and Darby can bounce around all over the place and keep the action high. But I know what you're probably thinking is these guys are legends. They know how to make it work without jumping around all over the place. And I would probably agree with you on that one. Issa, how do you feel?
I have a lot of thoughts. I thought it delivered. I thought it was a fun main event. I mean, you have a lot of talented people here. Sting is crazy. I mean, that spot. And at the same time, as I praise it, I also have to say you have all these big shows coming up, and you want your guys taking this kind of risk on TV when you have Wembley. They just announced Grand Slam again. You have you're all out in between there. It just feels like a lot of matches you can be saving for later. I just didn't expect to see that much interaction between Sting and Jericho, and they were like the last 6 minutes of the match. I think if you're protecting it so that their first one-on-one happens in Wembley or whatever they end up doing, then I just didn't expect to see all of them hitting each other finishers for a whole 5 minutes straight, because then it doesn't feel like they haven't gone one-on-one, right? But that spot that Sting did, like, I was legitimately shocked, because I was expecting it to be all Darby, right? And then when he starts climbing the ladder, that guy that they showed, that was literally me on my stream too. And I don't know if that landing, I don't know if that landing was how it was supposed to go. And then I saw him come back and he seemed to be okay, but I'm not sure that the landing on that spot went that way. And to Jack's point, when you say, well, Sting is that age, should we be having him doing these crazy spots, even if he wants to do them? But on free TV, when we could, like, I just don't know that I feel like I want to praise it, and at the same time, I feel a little bit like about it. So, but I have fun watching it. I thought it was very entertaining. But the 4 people that were in the ring, how are you not going to get an entertaining match with them?
Yeah, I wonder, because All In is the end of August, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yes.
Something like that. So I wonder if maybe they've got plans for other things for those guys. I mean, I get what you're saying. I feel like if you told me Sting versus Jericho first time ever at All In, I would say sign me up. That's great. Maybe, though, they've got a star that's bigger than any other wrestler ever, and that is Goldberg.
Well, that's the rumor out there, so who knows? And it's all about making it work. That's all. You know,
but when you try. I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jimmy, but when they had that first face-off, which was incredible, and I'm not comparing them, but CM Punk and MJF didn't touch each other for like 3 months. So if your worry is that Wembley is 3 months out, if you put the booking behind it, you can make it work, because they did. And if you remember, then they had that trios match where Sting was with Darby and CM Punk against FTR and MJF. And MJF kept outrunning and wiggling his way out to having to face CM Punk. So there is a way to get to Wembley where you still have them interact doing this and doing that, but not technically fight each other. We, technically speaking, saw a whole wrestling match between them tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. I'm just saying, I'm trying to think about if there was a reason why it was this way. But I agree. I think that, and in general with these kind of things, the one-on-one match is what we want to see. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I would, even if Jericho and Sting stunk it up in a singles match, I feel like I'd still rather see that than the tag match with the extra people in there.
No,
personally.
I hear you. And again, the more limited that their interaction is, and like you said, it felt like we got a one-on-one match for a lot of that match between the two. There was too much physicality between the two leading up to before. Anyways, it's frustrating sometimes.
But as it is, Jack wants to see some stink. Give me some stinky matches already.
Oh, okay.
Jimmy's like, no.
He's special, Jimmy. I'm sorry that you have to go through this. So I had to do it 2 nights in a row.
I mean, look, I just always think one-on-one is going to be better, especially for historic matches. I feel like we give, we'll give you some leeway. I think a lot of us would give them leeway. I don't think a lot of us would be expecting, like, suicide dives and everything else. And also, like I said, they're smart. They've been doing this for a while. They know how to make an interesting match without doing crazy stuff, Yeah,
because obviously you said suicide dives. The leap that Sting did onto the tables, was that necessary?
I will say it wasn't necessary, but let me tell you, I was invested in that match for that time when he went up that ladder. I was glued to that screen.
I was like this. Ooh.
I always sound like a mother. I'm like, careful.
I hear you.
That'd be me and Issa watching the same show. It'd be ridiculous. I'd be like, careful, and she'd be like, blood.
Not when it's Sting. I gotta tell you, not when it's Sting. You're just like, is you want to watch it, you want it to go successful, but you still have that fear, like, should you be doing this right now? Like, this match for nothing, like, for no reason whatsoever. It's just weird.
Well, I love the Stinger, and I hope he's okay. But also, I'll be honest, I popped like crazy for it. So I'm not gonna act like I'm not gonna pretend now that it's over that I'm not gonna wag my finger when in the moment I really was like, this is incredible. but it was dangerous.
Okay.
That said, I think that covers it for the show this week. That was AEW Dynamite. Before we sign off, I want to thank everyone for joining us in the chat. And of course, what I always like to do, everyone in the chat, let me know your overall thoughts of this show as we go through. Issa, we'll start with you. Your overall thoughts as well, and where can the world find you online?
I actually enjoyed tonight's episode of Dynamite. There was a couple of things that I could have done without, but I thought it was entertaining. I was entertained. Isn't that the whole point? I was entertained. I really liked it, and that's always a plus. I watch wrestling. I want to have a good time. I had a great time. You guys can find me NYC Demon Diva on YouTube, Instagram, all of my platforms. You can find me here on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and also Lucha Libre Online doing some Spanish coverage.
Nice.
Very cool stuff with the Lucha Libre Online, and also very cool stuff with the ring announcing you've been doing. Everyone follow Issa to see some awesome stuff there, as well as her watch-alongs. Jimmy Korderas, where can the world find you online, and what did you think of the show?
Now, I thought the show, like Issa said, was fun. It had its moments where you went, okay, maybe I didn't need to see that. But at the same time, for the most part, I was entertained and I had fun watching it. And that's the whole idea. And that's from a fan's point of view. From a former striped shirt looking at certain things, there were stuff that made me go, but hey, that's just, again, being
Jimmy,
nitpicky.
you're still a striped shirt in your heart.
I can't help it.
He would always be a striped shirt. Yep.
Yeah. I can't help it. But where you can find me here on Mondays and Wednesday nights discussing like we did tonight. And you can catch me on the Reffin' It Up podcast with my good brother in stripes, Brian Hebner, and RJ, who is our host, who does all the heavy lifting, like all the technical stuff. And this week's guest is Tracy Brooks. Ooh. So we had a lot of fun chatting with her. Hopefully you check it out. And from Monday to Friday, you can catch me doing my Reffin' Rants, where it's a minute long. That's all, on all my social media platforms, where it's just a critique, and it's not to tear down. It's to help tighten screws, in my opinion, and help maybe make things better if I can.
And also, I definitely recommend everyone check that out. One, it's a minute long. I mean, who doesn't have a minute? Just watch a minute. And it's always great to hear from someone who I think should be in the WWE Hall of Fame and will be probably before Batista at this rate. But your opinion and your view and your sight on things is always very cool to see. So I definitely recommend everyone check that out. Again, I want to shout out everyone who is in the chat. We got Ian, we got KOD669, we got Rick Platt, we got Swerve Show. Showed up at the end, Swerve Show. I didn't see you in the chat the whole time. That's a demerit. But we got Clay Ford with the MVP. Hit that bell icon, Clay. You win the MVP of the chat today. Jeffrey Sullivan, Lego Brick Collector, and we got Steven and Huffman, Elite Training. Give me a hard time because I don't have those 12-pack Finn Balor abs. Mike Martin as well, John Everett, Sonny Sitar. Good to see you. You came in at the end as well. Andy, or you were lurking until the end. I don't know. But I saw your name show up at the end. And everyone else, thanks so much for joining in for our show. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. You can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. I am just hanging out on Wrestling Inc. all week this week. You can find me on the After SmackDown show this week, where I'm going to be chatting more pro wrestling and just making Issa's life as hard as possible. But we will have a good time. Until then, follow at Wrestling Inc. for all your news. Have a good one.